Hello and welcome to today's Catholic News Roundup right here on RealCatholicTV.com. I'm Vic Faust. The U.S. presidential campaign is shifting into high gear, and the Catholic vote is looming large. Catholics comprise about 1 out of every 4 registered voters in the U.S., and both campaigns are actively courting them. No U.S. president has been elected in the last 9 campaigns without having won a majority of Catholic voters. Early polls indicate that Democratic hopeful Barack Obama is having some difficulty breaking through with Catholics, and this has the Democratic Party feeling a little nervous. And in a repeat from the 2004 election, a pro-abortion Catholic politician is headliner on the Democratic side. Delaware Senator Joseph Biden is already causing a stir in Catholic circles because of his contradictory claim to be a faithful Catholic while voting to support the killing of innocent children through abortion. RealCatholicTV.com will be providing you with continuous coverage of issues Catholics care about in the campaign throughout the election season. A Catholic bishop in England has issued a blistering report on the state of the Catholic Church in England, saying the church there has lost its way. Bishop Patrick O'Donoghue of Lancaster blasts Catholics who he says have succumbed to a modern sense of personal independence, especially in the 40 years since Vatican II. In his report, he says justice and peace are not more important than Mass, and church teachings, including on the sanctity of life, are not optional. He also blames many of his fellow bishops for failing to exercise their authority and delegating their responsibility to committees of lay people with little theological training. The bishop's words on the infallibility of the church's teaching on the sanctity of human life might come as a surprise to Democratic Representative and Speaker of the House, Nancy Pelosi. Last week, she sent shockwaves through the church and the secular media by claiming falsely that the church's teaching on human life is undecided and unclear. Since her totally incorrect portrayal of church teaching on the matter, she has been called out by no less than 8 American bishops who are trying to set the record straight. Mexico's Supreme Court has upheld the constitutionality of a law in Mexico City that allows abortion up to the 12th week of pregnancy. Abortion supporters are calling the ruling historic and want the practice legalized throughout the country. Now, the justice has heard arguments for 3 days from the Mexican Attorney General and the National Commission on Human Rights, who both said the law passed by the Mexico City Legislative Assembly in 2007 was unconstitutional. A final vote is expected this coming Thursday. Mexico is one of the most Catholic nations on earth, with over 95% of the population baptized Catholics. Abortion is clearly going to be a decisive factor in this year's election. Nowhere is that more easily seen than in the 2 parties' respective platforms. The National Right to Life Committee is calling the Republican Party platform the, quote, strongest ever on life, end quote. Language from the platform in part reads as follows, quote, faithful to the first guarantee of the Declaration of Independence, we assert the inherent dignity and sanctity of all human life and affirm that the unborn child has a fundamental individual right to life which cannot be infringed, end quote. The Democratic platform couldn't be more polar opposite. It continues on with the same old tired language of choice, while making a brief mention of the need to, quote, reduce the number of abortions, end quote. It's naturally very silent on the matter of what types of abortions should be reduced and at what point in the pregnancy the baby should be protected. And speaking about unborn babies, it didn't go unnoticed last week during Nancy Pelosi's interview on Meet the Press that she slipped pretty badly while referring to the unborn baby as a child.
Roe v. Wade talks about very clear definitions of when the child, first trimester.
It is, of course, a major pro-abortion talking point never to refer to the baby in the womb as anything other than a fetus or embryo, despite the fact that everyone on earth knows it's a baby or child. In another ironic twist, Ms. Pelosi and others in favor of abortion might be interested to note the word fetus is Greek for baby. Catholic bishops in California are joining their voices to an effort bringing together conservative Christians, Mormons, Catholics, and other groups in an attempt to defeat so-called gay marriage. Proposition 8 would define marriage as a union between one man and one woman, thereby overturning the California Supreme Court's ruling earlier this year that homosexuals and lesbians can legally wed. Current polls show a very tight race, while support for a traditional understanding of marriage still lags behind support for homosexual union. The numbers are tightening up. In fact, both sides are saying this will be a down-to-the-wire vote. And finally, in case we Catholics forget what this struggle is all about, here's a story that brings it into focus. It seems a 25-year-old African woman named Olivia, who despite not being baptized at the time and not having any legs, crawled 2.5 miles every Sunday to attend Mass. Nuns who came across the woman said one day they saw something moving on the ground far away. And when they drew near, they saw to their surprise a young woman. The sister said that although the sand from the road burned the palms of her hands during the hottest times of the year, the young woman crawled to Mass, giving witness of her perseverance and heroic faith. The young woman has since been baptized, and one of the benefactors of the sisters donated a wheelchair for Olivia. I'm Vic Faust. Thanks for tuning in. Be sure and come back tomorrow for your daily dose of Catholic News Roundup, and be sure to check out The Vortex, where Michael Voris has some thoughts on the Democratic Party's recent finding of religion. For now, God bless, and thanks for tuning in to RealCatholicTV.com.